Hello, the Bruce's Roost here, and welcome back to Golden Sandbox, the channel where I aim to push creativity to its limit in the sandbox that is, Sea of Thieves. Something I've always appreciated about Sea of Thieves is that a key, underrated element of success is multitasking. So for today's mission, I wanted to see how many laps I could complete solo around the map with no pieces of wood in my pocket or on my ship. This, of course, would be on top of whatever Sea of Thieves would want to throw at me, including PvE spawns such as Meg or Skeleton ships, the Storm, or other player ships looking for PvP. I'd keep going until my boat would inevitably sink. At the top of this, let me tell you my boat was standing for 5 hours. Each lap would start and end at Plunder Outpost, and I'd move in a clockwork fashion to all 5 outposts before ending back at Plunder Outpost. Between laps would be the only time that my boat would be allowed to stop moving. Plunder Outpost would also be the only place I'd be allowed to get my non-wood supplies. With these rules in place, I set out on the first leg, which was so boring that even the volcanoes in the Devil's Roar chose to stay sleeping. Realizing how, frankly, unfun just that one lap was, and acknowledging how passive the other ships on the server I had seen thus far were, I knew I had to take things into my own hands to make this more exciting. For my second lap, I raised the Reaper's Mark, meaning all ships on the server could see my ship on the map. This didn't do much as my second lap was also easy peasy mango squeezy. Knowing I needed to spice things up more, I created a new rule for my third lap regarding the spiciest thing in the game. No, not the exquisite spices, fire. As a new rule to this mission, my boat would have to be on fire at all times. If, for whatever reason, the fire went out, I'd have to start it back up with a firebomb. If I ran out of firebombs, I'd fail my mission. It was actually really cool to manage a fire like this. I'm so used to just putting out fires as soon as they start on a boat, but trying to understand how it works was actually really challenging and sometimes super unpredictable. I'd put out the fire altogether without meaning to, and then would have to waste a firebomb just to start it again. After becoming a firebender, my third lap was complete, and it was on to lap 4. Lap 4, just like all the laps before, would introduce another new challenge on top of what was already having to happen. The added challenge this time would be that I would need to fish 5 fish by the time I got to Anik at 3 Paces East Seapost. Having to fish meant that there would be times that my ship's wheel and the fire were not being babysat. Twice on lap 4 did I barely miss a rock while fishing. I managed to get all 5 fish though and sell them to Anik, forcing me to leave my boat for just a moment. That moment was much longer than I thought though, because when I came back there was a tier 1 hole in the hull of my ship. The fire must have snuck down there without me realizing. A tier 1 hole though is very manageable and actually made the fire management operation I had going on a lot easier. With another arrival at Plunder Outpost, my 4th lap was completed. Going into this, my ultimate goal was to complete 5 laps. While I assumed there'd be more outside threats such as players or skeleton ships making this difficult, the challenging aspects that I made for myself were starting to really push and test me. So I felt like it was still an accomplishment to make it to the 5th lap. What better way to celebrate than with a bang? 15 bangs to be exact. For my 5th lap, again on top of the previous rules I had enacted, I would have to explode 15 gunpowder kegs before arriving back at Plunder. Visiting the forts along my route would be my best bet for getting this done, but with a hole now in my ship and a raging fire still setting my boat ablaze, my timing of leaving my boat and returning would make or break the lap. Soon after starting lap 5, I launched over to Lost Gold Fort and took out 4 kegs, and then forgot that gunpowder kegs explode through wood. I was sent to the ferry. I had accounted for the timing of exploding some kegs and merming back, but the extra time on the ferry was not something that I had accounted for. When I returned back to my boat, I had to pull a sharp turn and quick harpoon to narrowly miss some jagged rocks at Plunder. I wasn't on lap 1 or 2 anymore. No, this was the Big Kids League. I emptied out my hull again and went for another keg run at Sailor's Knot Stronghold, which was far more impressive. What was not as impressive was returning my boat and starting to fish, only to hit a rock, creating a new hole and losing the fish on the line. No matter, the journey from Sanctuary to 3 Paces East was pretty much a straight shot with very little rock obstacles in the way, allowing me to time fishing out just right to get the 5 fish I needed for Anik this lap. Additionally, I was able to cannon over to Hidden Spring Keep, get the remaining kegs I needed, and get back just in time to save my drowning ship. With the kegs done, the fish delivered, all was good. I passed Maurer's Peak and Ancient Spire and pulled into Plunder to complete my 5th lap. I did it. This was some of the most fun that I had had solo in Sea of Thieves in a long while. Having made it further than I thought I would, I decided the rule for my 6th lap would be to kill 5 skeletons. With 2 holes in the hull and an ongoing fire, I set forth on what would be my final lap. Things started out pretty strong, with kegs being taken out at some ports. My plan for the skeletons was to stop by Lonely Isle when going between Sanctuary and Daggertooth. With as empty as a hull as I was gonna get, I cannoned over to Lonely Isle and landed right on the island rather than in the water, leaving me with a broken leg. With swordplay being made extra hard because of that, I was gonna use my pistol, which I forgot to refill the ammo of. The skeletons slapped me silly.
I'm gonna slap you silly!
Sending me to the ferry. And you'd think that this is where I sunk, right? I have 2 holes, I got fire going on, but no, it's not where I sink. No. I come back to find the boat wedged against the rock, but still up. Having killed 0 skeletons and now having a larger hole in the front of my hull, I aimed the boat towards Hidden Spring Keep for a pass-by so I could jump off and take care of the remaining kegs. I heard my boat hit the sandbar, so I really should have just eliminated a keg or 2 and headed back to the boat, but instead, I was pulled into keg mania. It's so much fun to explode those things, and I just lost sight of the task at hand. With a really cool explosion and exit, like super cool, like action movie, I cannoned off to my merm only to be hit with the long, dooming black screen. My ship had sunk. It was a dumb mistake, and lack of proper prep is ultimately what led to me losing my ship. Even with a sunk ship, I'd had a blast. I went into this mission totally expecting to get a lap or 2 in, and have a player or skeleton sloop completely tank my hopes and dreams. But instead, those 2 elements were nowhere in sight. I took things into my own hands though and kept adding to the challenge, because the sandbox in Sea of Thieves is built for you to do that. Also, if someone's looking for someone to manage fires, just let me know. I'm super good at it now, and I can, put them out, I can keep them up, but just like square them into different sections on your boat, whatever you need. I got you. Anyways, thank you so much for checking out Golden Sandbox, and make sure to subscribe because there's more stuff like this coming your way.